They shot me 5 times in my chest. They thought I was dead.
You were shot 5 times in the chest?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that incident?
So the police chased us and they cornered us. And as I'm on the roof, I look around me, I just see cops. The cops already seeing me and I'm already seeing the cops. I got 2 guns in my hand. What choice do I have but to fire? Me on the roof, cops on the floor, me running from this roof to that roof, trying to get away, but I'm boxed in, you know. And when I looked up, one cop was already behind me. So in my running away, he shoots me and I fall. And in my falling, they started shooting me.
So you were shot 5 times?
5
And
times
do you
in the
have
chest.
the marks from them?
Yeah, I got...
Oh. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Wide Awake Podcast. My name is Joshua Rubin, and I'm your host.
Are you ready?
Today, I am so excited for today's episode, and I've got a very special guest here. His name is Thando. So Thando is an ex-gangster, and he isn't like every other gangster. You know, most people, when they're young or when they're old, they join a gang, and you become part of a crew. Mm-hmm. Thando chose to stand alone. And that means he is a one-man gang, and you basically fought by yourself. You committed crimes by yourself. You did everything alone.
Yeah.
Welcome to the studio.
Yeah, man.
You excited to be here?
Yeah, so far, yeah, I am. Totally.
Yeah, you're so excited you got your 2 hours early.
Yeah. But okay, on that note of one-man band, it didn't start off as a one-man thing. You know, when I grew up in Crossroads, my brother had a clique. My brother's name was Siko. And he had a clique, and the clique, they were doing hijackings, robberies, cars, you know, house breakings in white people's areas like Durbanville, Brackenfell, Eggfontein, Kales River, you know. So I always looked up to them during the sense that they always had good stuff, great stuff. My brother was staying in the same room with me, so I always would check his drawers and I would always see money, jewelry, guns and stuff, you know. So I always admired that type of lifestyle. And there came a time when I also met a guy named Bafo and we started breaking in. I think I was 14 years old at the time, 14 to 15 years old. And he introduced me. I actually went to him and asked him to take me with to the break-ins. And he introduced me to break-ins in Observatory, Mowbray, you know, Rondebosch, you know, all these areas near. So we would kick doors. We would take what we can because the alarm system would go off. So we break doors, we run in, we grab maybe a laptop or we grab maybe a PlayStation or something, you know, and we would come run. We would do maybe 3-4 houses a day. You know, grab and run.
You'd break into 3 or 4 houses in one day.
In one day, you know, because we can't break in and stay in the house because we had to just run in and rush. So we would do that so that we can prolong our stay. But then there's one house breaking in Observatory. We got 2 guns. We got the 357, a Chrome, and we got the 3.8, the Rossi. And I hid the Rossi away from him, and I told him about the 357 that I got. And I don't know why I did that, but I was like intrigued about guns, man. I had this big poster in my room with Bruce Willis. Do you see that movie Hard? What is it called? Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Yeah, he's standing there with the Glock 19.
Yeah, I don't know why it's called Die Hard because he literally never dies.
Yeah. I had that poster like in my room, and I would always look. And to me, a gun was like $1 million check. You know, you can get anything, you can do anything with it.
It's like someone gives you a blank check and
you
you can write whatever you want on that check.
Yeah, you can use it whichever way you want to use it. So for me, that was the gun. So when I got my first gun, I hid it from my friend and I told him about one gun and he wanted us to sell it. And I had a problem with that. I'm like, how can we sell $1 million? And I know we have to sell this gun. He was older than me, so he was more wiser than me. And I'm like, no, you take everything that we have. You know, I think we had around about 3 laptops and like a couple of stuff also. So I'm like, take everything that we have. I'm going to take this gun and I'm going to keep it for me. And he's like, okay, cool. And I gave him that stuff. And that's how I was introduced to having my own gun. And in having my own gun, in those 2 days that I had my own gun, me and a friend of mine called Anele Tesemele, is there today, Waga. We created so much chaos in the neighborhood, with our first guns, me and my I think we were 14, 15 years old at that time. So in that weekend alone, we created so much chaos. We were in Yanga East, even in Crossroad, people heard about this chaos and my brother came looking for me. But in the time that my brother came looking for me, our other crew also came looking for us and they befriended us under guys. You understand? And we became friends with them in that weekend. All to find out that on the Sunday, they wanted to kill me and they wanted to take both these guns. But one gun was with Anele, and Anele went to go sleep because he was too drunk. And I was the one that was still roaming around with these dudes. And then they disarmed me. They pointed a Uzi to my gun and they took the gun from me and they put the gun in my head and they shot. But in the shooting, I don't know where I got the power. I just ripped myself from these guys that were holding me and the bullet went straight above my head. And then I turned around and I ran. In front of me. There was a car and they shot at the car. And I just moved just in the nick of time and I saw how the windscreen of the car shattered. And I ran around the car and I ran to a door of a shebeen, which they were still shooting at me with my own gun because I could see the holes hitting the wall as I'm going. And I ran into the shebeen and the guys were there and I reported to them what the friends were doing outside and they all ganged up on me inside. They took out knives and others broke bottles. They wanted to come at me. But now the lady of the house, she protected me and she pushed me to the back door and I ran. So that is when I met my brother the following day. And he was like, yo, I've been looking for you the whole time. And I told him what happened. And he gave me a 16-shooter, CZ78. And he said, you, my brother, you chose this life. I've been pushing you away from this life. But from today, you're going to walk with me because your life is in danger. And when he said my life is in danger and he placed the gun in my hand, I was going to take my life back. And we went back to those dudes and we started the whole warfare. So that is how things started. And I was groomed up, I can say, by the crew of my brother because I learned a lot of things with them, being with them. And I also, I think the independent part comes there because my brother was like a shadow over me. Everyone would look at me, not recognize me, but recognize my brother. So I also wanted to stand out of his shadow to be my own man. So I think, that's where the independent guy grew and was formed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a lot about you, right? Mm-hmm. All I know about you is from what I've heard from Notorious.
Yeah.
And he said some amazing things about you.
Sure.
And he's also told me about the things you used to do. I mean, I know now you're an ex-gangster, right?
Sure.
And there's so much power with that ex.
Sure.
It's like, I mean, I've heard some of the road that you've had to travel to get to being an ex-gangster, right? But I mean, just to get back to the start, you weren't always like this.
Yeah.
You were, I've heard, quite a shy and timid kid. You weren't loud and obnoxious. You kind of were very conservative.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about yourself as a kid. What were you like?
Okay, cool. Speaking from my remembrance, I was born in Cape Town, born and raised in Cape Town, grew up in the white area of Cape Town, Breda Park. It's under Devil's Peak, the area that we used to stay. My father was a caretaker of the flats and my mom was working as a maid within the apartments. So we had this house that was placed like in the yard, there by the parking lot with the cars parked. There was a house there for the caretaker or the overseer, whichever way you want to call it. So we used to stay there. So I remember I used to go to school to Prestige Primary. We used to go play games in the road leading to Greenpoint, and all those types of stuff. So I grew up like a white kid, because I remember my parents would used to say that I used to interpret for my pops from a very young age, I think 3 years or 4 years old. So, at the age of 8, then my father decided, no, he's going to move us all to a black community because I needed to grow up black. So then he bought a house in the Black Township that is in Crossroads, Bester Homes, in front of Mandela High School. And we stayed there, I think from 89, we stayed there. And when I came into Crossroads, it was like, good, I'm meeting like a whole group of black people, man. And it was like so exciting for me. And I was interested in knowing them and finding everything I could find out about them because I've been so white for so long.
You're like a coconut.
Yeah, you understand. And then those words that you just mentioned started to come out.
Yeah, people called you a
call me
coconut.
coconut.
Yeah.
Or a toffolax, you know.
They used to call my cousin that as
Yeah,
well because
you
he's
understand.
black and living with white people.
So they used to like do anything they do. You know what stronger people do to weaker people?
They bully them.
Bully them and take this stuff. And I'm like this kid. I'm like this only kid in the hood who's got like 3 black bags, I could call them, full of toys. You know, from the white people. When we were moving, they just blessed me with a lot of toys. So these dudes don't have these toys. I've got track cars, you know, I can put my tracks on and let my cars go around and all this type of stuff. So they would come play with me a little while, take my stuff and go home. When I want my stuff, they would beat me. When I go tell my parents, and my pops would whoop up his belt and my pops would beat me. My pops say, hey, you better toughen up. You know, don't come tell us. You go fight for your thing. Get your stuff back. And they would give me a ball. I go play with the ball. And I'm playing with the ball, and one guy, he became my best friend, Ayanda Dika, which also transpired to become my number 1 enemy. He would take my balls and he would just burst him, you know. And I was like, yo, what's up? And yo, what's up? And I would get a smack or 2 fists at the same time. Run home again, crying. Get home, my dad whoops up his belt, beats me again. Go out and fight, you know. And I would run and I would sit on the field, cry me out, make me full of dust, come home and say, Dad, I beat him, I won. And Dad would say, okay, cool, now you can go sleep. So my life was like that, you know, being bullied, having no place where I can run to, had to man up for myself. But at that time, my big brother, Siko, was not yet staying in Cape Town. He was staying in East London, growing up with our grandparents. As you know, every story of the black people. Eastern Cape people leave the children there, come to Cape Town, find work. So I got the privilege and the opportunity to be born in Cape Town. You understand? So my parents chose to keep me with them here in Cape Town. So there was no big brother to defend my part. It was only me and my pops would just beat me and tell me, go back, go fight. And then I remember this one day, I loved soccer, man, but I could not play soccer because I was like a white kid. You know, white kids. You know,
White kids can't play soccer?
Yeah, you guys can't play soccer, man. You know? So, yeah.
I was pretty good. I was
Yeah,
because I'm so short and I had asthma. They put me as the goalkeeper.
Cool.
I was a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, you were a good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But on the field, running with the ball, doing the tricks, you
Yeah.
know, only black people could do that.
They would do it twice as fast as well.
Yeah, but okay. So yeah, I was like that kind of stuck-up kid, and the guys would make fun of me. You can't even play soccer, but in practice, I'm always there. I want to practice, you know, because it's the only chance I get to play in a team as a team member. That was only in practice, but on the field with other teams, I don't get that opportunity. But even here in the practice, I would always get challenges, man. Guys would like come and take my shirt, you know, and come play. I can't play because there's no shirt for me to play. Maybe this is the last shirt, and the one that beat me the last time would just come and say, hey, give my shirt. So I got tired of this, you know. And this guy come one day, my cousin, called him, I'm so nervous now, I forgot his name. But my cousin, yeah, you know, he's also there. He's like the assistant coach at that time. And he sees me coming, and he sees the other dude behind me, Mzotolo, coming. And he shouts out, the first one to make it here, this is his sweater. So he's like, he sees me in front of him, so he's like, I can make it first, you know. He's trying to give me an opportunity and also to protect me in the same way. So I run towards him and I grab the sweater. But as I grab the sweater, Zotlo is already behind me and he grabs the sweater out of my hand. And I'm like, yo, I'm first. And I'm Olisi, yeah. He takes the sweater and he says, look here, I see we have a problem here. Thando, you want the sweater? I'm like, yeah, I want to play. Zotlo, you want the sweater? He's like, yeah. Then he said, then you guys need to fight it out, you know? And then we had this fight. And I'm at that verge, I'm like, yo, this has to stop, man. So I fought to my utmost and I beat that guy that day on the field, you know. I just got a crazy power that I don't know where it was hidden all the time. And I just overcome this guy with a lot of fists, you know. And he just, the way I beat him, he didn't know what to do. He just stood up and he said, Chuck Norris, as if I'm going to be scared for Chuck Norris. And he came flying to me with a fly kick. And I just moved aside and I beat him more, you know, and then he ran home. And then everybody was like cheering me on. Yeah, the one who's always been bullied is now the victor, you know. And now my victories started there.
piling up. I mean, I heard that, I mean, after a while, because you said you were getting bullied for a long time without
Yeah.
defending yourself.
Yeah.
I heard your first fight was with a girl.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
That's my cousin, Viwe. I don't remember what was the actual argument, but we were like in a karate class there in Mandela High School, which was in front of our house. So there was a karate class there. And Ayanda, Tika, the one I talked to about, I said was my friend, his older brother was the sensei there teaching us karate. But I'm not sure actually what was the argument between me and Viwe, but we started fighting, and in our fight, I just grabbed her and I just choked her, and we used to call it a vice grip, I hit her with a few punches and then I grabbed her and I choked her. And as I choked her, people came and they stopped and she just stood up and ran to water, She's thirsty and she wanted to drink water. And from that day, we used to make fun of her, I'm thirsty, running to the... And that was also one of my victories and started...
So, I mean, you started getting into fights, right?
Yeah.
You see your brother and your friends getting into trouble. You start robbing people.
Sure.
You start playing with guns. So you get the gun. And what happens? How do you become a gang member?
My first gun is the one that I told you about. My first personal gun. But I started dabbling in guns by stealing my brother's guns. As I told you, I used to see them in the drawer. And I would see 2 or 3 guns in my brother's drawer, and I would take one, put it in me, and I would walk. And I would hide it so much because I know that it is not allowed for me to carry one of my brother's guns, So I would hide it so well that even my friends that usually walks with me, they would not even know that I have a gun on me. But just the sense that I have a gun on me just gave me that authority and that power. But when I got to the point where I got my own gun and my brother called me in and I started working with him, now they were not a gang. They were a clique. In black townships in those times, like mid-90s, going to 2000s, there were no gangs. Gangs started to pop up like in 2005, 2006, when we started to hear about those kids, the Vura kids, the Palestinians, the Iraqis, the Afghanistans,
So were those black gangs?
Those were black gangs, but they stemmed out of the Zulu Natal and the dog pound era. Do you remember that in Guguletu, 1996, where they were fighting the beef of Tupac and Biggie, the West and the East beef? It came to the streets, most it fell even here. That's why DJ Chopman, Tupac's producer, came to South Africa in Guguletu to come and speak with these 2 rival gangs, So that was the pop-up, I could say, of gangs. But actually, in the Lokasi, we call it the Lokasi.
The location?
Yeah.
Township.
So actually what happens there, people don't veer off to gangs or construct a gang structure, but they will have a clique, a brotherhood, you understand, that stands together for whatever. And that brotherhood would maybe have the same means of making money. Like my brother's clique and me, we were mostly associated with housebreaking, hijacking, and cars.
And drugs?
Nope.
Not drugs?
Not in the drugs. This is Crossroads now. This is when I was staying in Crossroads.
This is earlier, yeah.
This is earlier. So our drive there was clothes, to have the dopest clothes, to have the most expensive clothes, to drink from Monday to Monday, and to drink the most expensive beers. And like I was an Amstel man, people know me, I would call it the Harvest, give me a case of Harvest and they would know actually, okay, I'm talking about now Amstel Lager. And we would drink like Club Drift, we would drink, we break in white people's house, so we got these expensive whiskey bottles,
So you would go break in,
Yeah.
You would steal some stuff, you would sell some stuff, you would keep some for
Keep some
yourself.
stuff, do those types of things. Go buy for us clothes, like in places like Barley Splits, in the Golden Acre, because only Golden Acre had Barley Splits that time. Cavendish did not have. Cavendish came afterwards. So buy their clothes, we would buy leather cappies, buy rich leather and designs, in Cape Town. So we would do these things just to get a sort of standard. So the crew that will operate in breaking together, that's the crew that will stick together in the hood. And that crew would also together have guns of their own.
And where do you guys get the guns from?
Housebreaking.
So you steal them from other people?
Yes, when we break your house and there's a gun or two in your house, we're going to take it, man. We're not going to leave it for you.
And is that the only way people get guns in gangs? Like,
Nope. That's not the only way. The other way is to disarm people that have guns. Like send out a search party, find out what guy carries and who carries and where does he go work and stuff like that. Then we will go take your gun.
and you also do like I've seen footage of gang members robbing policemen. I mean, there was a horrific video in Johannesburg of a cop and his partner sitting in their cop car, and there was a dash video camera there, and suddenly you just see people running in the background, break the window, and start shooting into the car at the guys. They kill them and they steal their guns. I mean, it's horrific.
That happened, yeah, also in Cape Town when the Metro Police were introduced. Do you remember they were called first the Pizza Boys because they had the black and white uniform? They came in with these Glock 19s, these Glock 21s, these new R1 rifles, you know, and they would be crammed up in the Almeras and they were like bait for us, you know, and guys would go for them.
Police were bait.
The police. The guys would go for them. Even, for instance, I also had a shootout in Crossroads with the police, you know, and they shot me 5 times in my chest. They thought I was dead.
You were shot 5 times in the chest?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that incident? How did that happen?
Okay. I'm going to leave some details.
Yeah, leave some details, obviously, yeah.
So we came from a criminal activity, but from that, there was a police chase. So the police chased us and they cornered us into our own neighborhood and we ran off. And running off, we ran to our own secluded place, which was a Shabin. And we got in there. And when we got in there, the guy already opened the doors for us and we got in and he locked the doors and we get into his house and we sit there and everybody's like quiet, you know. But I don't know how the police tracked us to the same place because we dodged them. But I believe that the guy, the owner of the tavern, he was also connected. I'm not sure about that because he made like he locked. But when we opened our eyes again, the police were in the Shabin, but we were in the house. So we're looking out and we're seeing these torches flaring up and down. And we're sitting here in our quietness, we're cleaning our guns because it was a shootout. So we're cleaning our guns and we're making us ready. And at the same time, the police comes and they like rush the house. And as they rush the house, we run out. And in our running out, I ran into a closed exit.
Like an alleyway.
A closed alleyway. And the only way for me is up. I have to get on the roof. So I jump on the roof, I get on the roof. And as I'm on the roof, I look around me, I just see cops. It's just blue around me, you know. And my friends, they're already on the other side and they calling me, come. But the cops already seeing me and I'm already seeing the cops. I got 2 guns in my hand. What choice do I have but to fire? And I started firing and they started shooting. And it was like an hour and maybe say more towards an hour, the whole procedure that happened there. Me on the roof, cops on the floor, me running from this roof to that roof, trying to get away, but I'm boxed in, you know. And when I looked up, one cop was already behind me. And when he was also on the roof behind me as I'm busy with the other policeman. So when I turn around, he shoots. And in the shooting, I'm jumping from the roof because when I turned around and I saw him, I was like, hey, here's he, and I wanted to run away. So in my running away, he shoots me and I fall. And in my falling, they started shooting me.
So they just kept shooting you. And during that time, you said lasted almost an hour, right? Mm-hmm. How many shots were fired, do you think?
I can't say.
You don't even know?
Because they were shooting.
I mean, did you have lots of bullets on you?
I had 2 16 shooters on me, which I loaded 16 in the cartridge and 1 on top. On the loop, so that makes it 17. So
on each gun?
Yeah, so I was like pumping.
Okay, so you didn't have any other bullets. You were just using what was in the mag.
I was using what was in the mag, and there was no time to reload also because I'm on the roof, exposed, and they're like on the floor.
They're everywhere, yeah.
And they're surrounding me, you know.
So you were shot 5 times.
5 times.
And do you have the marks from them?
Yeah, I got.
Oh, your whole stomach.
Yeah, man.
Was that from the same incident?
One incident. You see here, why it goes here? Because my heart was short also.
You were shot in the heart.
No heart.
So you've got a bullet hole above your nipple.
Mm-hmm.
Those all from the same incident.
Yes.
So the one above your nipple, the one down here.
Yes, this one.
And then why is there a big cut all the way up your stomach? Is that from surgery?
Yes, this is surgery. They had to surgery because my pancreas, my pancreas, my left kidney, my right lung, my stomach and my heart were punctured in the shooting. So they had to open me up and they had to close up. And when they closed everything up, they saw that I'm still bleeding and they couldn't understand. Because then they had to go check my heart and they saw that my heart was also shot because the doctors could not think that my heart was also shot because I'm still alive. You know,
So how did you survive this? I mean,
it's a miracle, man.
and how long were you in hospital for?
I think I was in hospital for more than 2 months.
For more than 2 months.
More than 2 months because I was in a critical state. But it also came to that part where my healing progression was very miraculous, as I could say. They could not understand, so I had to stay another 2 weeks without medication in hospital. They were just monitoring me.
That's incredible, eh? I mean, you're very lucky to be alive there. And I mean, how old were you at that time?
This is what I always tell daughters, the age things are like
How old do you think? I mean, in your...
say between 20 because
so you were in your 20s?
yeah, between 20 and 23 because at the age of 23 I remember listening to the song of Coolio. He says that you don't know if you'll love beyond 23. You remember that song of Coolio?
Gangster's Paradise.
You
know Coolio died, eh?
Yeah, he died. He said, he mentioned it and he says he don't know if he will love past 23. So that was
See,
also
24, the way things are going, I don't know.
Yeah, so that was also my
Will I live to see 24?
Yeah,
the way things are.
my perspective. I thought so because I counted that at the age of 23 I was already shot 11 times.
By the time you were 23, you were shot 11 times.
And that's when I told myself, if any bullet much as grazes me, I surely will die.
Because your body is so injured.
Yeah.
I mean, so when you were doing the break-ins and everything, right? Did you identify as a gang member? Did you think you were a gang member, or did you just think you were like a common criminal?
At that time, I would say I was in the stages of being groomed into a gang member because I was just a common criminal, a gunslinger. Yeah, because that's also the you see I was talking on the criminal context of things. But now the criminal context of things brings also the hoodness, So being in the hood, making that type of money, wearing those type of clothes, you carry some oomph. So a lot of people see you and a lot of people, they would like to step up to you, to befriend you or to rob you. So we had to carry a clout also in our community. And Crossroads, I was looking for a way to describe Crossroads, the nature of Crossroads. Crossroads is a very evil place. It's evil to the core. I will call it's a John Wick colony. You understand? Because in Crossroads, you have to kill to survive.
Kill or be killed.
Yeah. There's two ways. It's either you be killed or you become the killer. So you choose to be the predator or to be the prey. And preys don't last, but predators also do not last. But, it is better because your walk, your talk, and who you are is respected. People will know you don't mess with that dude, So here in the location, within our location, as I said, there were fights flaring up. We were shooting with guys from Yanga East and there was stuff happening within Crossroads domestically. We Crossroadians, we would fight with one another. Maybe it's over a girl, maybe it's over, you look down on me that day in the tavern, all those types of stuff. So it's a lot of shooting, man. And the shooting was always not wounding, but killing. You understand? And
you were trying to kill.
No, we killed. We killed, man. It's not about...
You weren't trying, you were succeeding.
Yeah, me and my close friend, Mkolisi Kalaba, is dead today. He was very feared in the location. But we had this thing that we windscreen breakers. We used to see a person's face as a windscreen. I will break your windscreen, you fuck. If you
That's one of the scariest things I've ever heard.
If you F with me, I'll break your windscreen. And me and him, we would always sit in our drunken state and speak what we aiming for as we living this evil life. We would speak about when we die one day. We're sending all these people to hell so that when one day we die, we have a lot of foot soldiers in hell. People we send there, this is the notion that we had, that people we send there will be under our authority because we sent them there. And when we come there, we would mobilize them as an army and dethrone the devil. You know, that was the concept, the mindset. And every day was as if it's your last day. That's how we had to live.
When did you go from this, right? And when did you start fantasizing about gangs and becoming a gang member?
You know, the transition from staying in Crossroads to go to Mitchell's Plain. I went to school in Mitchell's Plain. I was in Springdale Primary, Lintergier. I also did LO High in Lintergier. So we were more coloredly, my household, me and my brother. There was also a name that we were dubbed with in the location, especially amongst our friends. We were called the Stachy Brothers because we used to rock these Olympic techies with the basketball in them, the Patrick Ewings, you know, the starter jacket.
Weren't the Stachy brothers real gangsters?
Yeah, they were real gangsters.
So you guys were like young versions of them.
Yeah, you know, the location version of them. So I can say it was not a thing that I looked towards to, but it's a thing that I knew that gangs do exist and there's a certain role to be played within the gangs. I'm already at 26, by the way, because I think at the age of 15, 16, I went to prison. And I remember that we were so underage that the court instructed the police to hide us because Capet 6 at that time wanted to video us, to visualize us, because the crimes that we were arrested for as minors were like dangerous. We were arrested that time, I think it was 2 attempted murders and 1 murder. But when we got arrested, it piled up until to, I think, 23 or 13 cases.
Who wanted to take videos of you?
Capet 6. It was like...
Who's that?
It was like Focus. You see Focus on the TV today?
Okay. So they heard about you guys.
Yeah, they heard about us.
How notorious your crimes were.
Yeah.
And they wanted to interview you. How old were you when you at that time, when you went to prison?
Under 16, man.
Under 16.
Under 16.
And you had committed crimes that were so notorious and vicious that people already wanted to speak to you.
Yeah, and I remember they didn't want to speak to us because it was the outcry. Because the whole reason why we got arrested for all these crimes is that one day we fighting was with these guys of Nyanga East, as I mentioned to you, who robbed me, who just armed my gun. So one day, as the fighting is continuing, like the fight was going on for almost a year, man. You know, we would just pop in, shoot, go out, and they would pop in, shoot, go out. So it would be a thing like that, an ongoing thing. And I remember this one day, I just came out from a housebreaking stunt. I'm sitting in the yard. I'm busy with my stuff there in a tavern and I'm drinking. And a girl that I know, like a good friend girl of mine, she comes and she's full of blood. You know, I'm like, yo, what's up? Who did that to you? Because I know everyone here in the hood knows she rolls with me. So nobody can do that to her. I'm like, yo, who did that to you? And she's like, those guys, man. Those guys from Nyanga East. I'm like, what? She's like, yes, I was walking there with my brother and this just attacked me because of you. So I'm like, okay, I'll go sort them out now. So I'm like, take up my guns and I tell the people that are around me, look, keep my stuff, I'm coming now. As I'm going out, my friend is also coming and the whole crew is already on alert and they're like, yo, where you? I'm like, I'm going to go solve this. And the whole crew follows me. And we go to Nyanga East. There's a main road dividing Crossroad from Nyanga East. So when we came there, the whole community of Nyanga East is like lands, you know, like in Kensington, you have the land throughout. So it's like the avenues. So the people of this avenue and that avenue, they were all gathered together like a crowd of people, you know, coming against us, coming to shoot the kids and doing, you know, and they're standing out there. And I'm like, are these the people that hit you? And she's like, yeah, it's them. I'm like, I'm standing over the road and I shout out to the people, yo, what's up? When your guys shoot us, you don't see our parents doing what you're doing? Why are you standing up for your kids? But they started this whole thing, you know? So I'm like, and they're like, we're going to kill you. I'm like, you going to kill me? And I like, move over. And I just crossed over the road, gun in the hand, in the open, I'm in. And as I'm in this circle, I'm like, now I am. Kill me. You know, and everybody's just backing. And my friend, Anele Waga, is already behind me, but he smacks a guy behind me, but I'm not seeing this. He smacks a guy, and this guy, he smacks a girl. And this girl returns he smacked with a blow, and in her hand she has a glass bottle, and she cuts his face. So when I turn around, I see him coming with blood on his face. And I'm so in a state, I even forgot to cork my gun. My gun is not corked. I'm just showing it. And when I see this, I see a guy chasing after Waga, and I thought, this is the guy that did that to him. So I just push Waga aside, and I just aim for his head, and I shoot. And in shooting, the gun doesn't shoot because it's not corked. There's no bullet in the chamber. So it goes click, click, and the people say it's a toy gun, and they started ganging up on me and my friend. And they beat us there, and the gun is rolling this side, and the cartridge is that side, and my friend Cletisi comes in, picks up the gun, throws the gun to me in the midst of the chaos. I get the gun. I see the cartridge on the floor. I get the cartridge. I put it in. I cork the gun, and I shoot one shot in the air, and everybody just spreads. And from on there, my whole crew is here, and we start shooting. Everybody's running, bodies flying, people falling, you know.
Just chaos.
Yeah, and a group of people run into a Wendy, and I follow pursuit, and
You start shooting them.
I shoot at the Wendy.
I mean, did you kill anyone that day?
That day we killed one person and we injured two people. That is the cases that we were arrested for.
That's what you were arrested for. And I mean, were you using drugs and drinking when you were doing this stuff?
Drinking, man.
You were drinking a lot at a young age.
At a young age, we were like alcoholics.
How old do you think you were when you started drinking? Sorry, I know that it's hard to think back about age, but roughly.
Roughly, I would say 13 years old.
13.
I remember we were studying school, and we would like weekends, 20 rand, 10 rand put together, and we buy a bottle, sit in someone's yard and drink. So at the age
So you
of
were just
13,
chilling, drinking.
Yeah.
And at that time, so when that incident happened, you said that's what you were arrested for, right? So was this the first time you had been arrested?
No, it was not actually the first time that I was arrested, but it was the first time that I was incarcerated.
Okay.
Because I was arrested before, like in Mowbray also, for car breaking. And I
Okay.
was actually going to steal the car, but they said it's a car breaking.
So you were let go.
So yeah, so they let me go there for my mom. My mom came to pick me up with my brother, got her hiding, sent home. And I was also arrested again in Durbanville for breaking an entry
Into someone's house.
into someone's house. But I was still yet a minor, so I got away with the issue that I was hungry. And I just went in to go eat, and I got off in a warning, and they told my mom to come pick me up, and my mom came to pick me up, and that's where my mom started to see that I'm no longer the child that she brought up.
And did you, when you were breaking into people's houses, did people ever catch you in the act? So like the people at the house?
No, people never caught us in the act, but one friend of mine was shot.
By someone the person that owns the house?
Yeah.
So you do these crimes and you get arrested for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And you get put into jail. What was that experience like?
A lot of people they would describe the experience like they're just terrifying, but to me it was not terrifying. It was just like something new, For I'm used to rolling with killers, man. I'm used to rolling with jailbirds, so I know this, and mainly my friends, most of them, they got a 28 background because Crossroads was like a 28 camp, infested with the 28s.
So where you came from, you already knew the 28s.
Yeah, I already knew the 28s. I already knew some things of the number. When the guys were drunk, then they would like a lot of secrets, and you would catch you by the ear. And I knew a little about what is prison life. But for me, it was not a terrifying experience. It was just something very interesting and something new. So when I came into prison, I just looked around. I said, oh, okay, people are in cages. We're all like monkeys in the zoo, And I'm looking and I'm seeing this one is a 28, this one is a 26, this one is a 27. But I already had a notion of where I wanted to be because I never wanted to be a 28. Even though I was rolling with the 28, even though my brother was a 28, even though I acted like a 28 sometimes. But I never wanted to be a 28 because two guys struck me in our township. That was Tete and Bush. They were the only 26 within the community of the 28s, and they were like totally different. The style of where they conduct, the way they go about things, they were like standing out, man. For me, they were like brightness. They were like shining out of this entire crew, and that intrigued me to the sense that I want to be like these guys.
You wanted to be a 26.
Yeah, So when I came into prison with my crew, which all of them were 28s, and they were all gang members of the 28s. And me and Anele and Kolisa, my two accused who were with me in my cases, they were both like me. We were all France, So our crew had this thought or this notion that they had to protect us, they had to keep us, as we are brothers from the same place. And they had to bring us into prison safely and all those type of stuff. But when we came into the reception, I knew I had to break away from them for me to become a 26. Because if I'm going to stay with them, then it's going to lead me to become a 28. So I broke away from my friends. And I stood one side, and I remember them calling me, "Hey, Thando, what's up? Go." I'm like, "Yo, it's cool, go." And they're like, "Brother, we need to have your back." I'm like, "Yo, I got this, And I moved away from them, and I saw other guy with the name Sean. I think he's dead today. He had a big 26 here. And I saw him, but now my entire forearm, I'm bloodied because it's not the cops that arrested us. It was the SANDF, South African National Defense Services. They came to arrest us with the escort of the police. As I told you, the shooting of police was a popular thing, So they came to arrest us, so they beat the hell out of us. So I was like full of blood, carrying my clean clothes under me.
So in prison, they beat you?
No, they beat us outside.
Oh, they beat you before?
And then they brought us to court in the whole court system. So there's no time to freshen up and to clean because you sleep in a dirty cell, you wake up from a dirty cell to a dirty courtroom, from a dirty courtroom to a dirty.
I've been in a cell before.
Yeah, there's no freshening up.
I was arrested when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I was put into a cell in, Darling.
Cool.
I was in Darling.
Yeah.
In the police station there. And it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything. You just
do anything. You're just going to stay in
on the outside. Freedom is like a weird concept because it's a right, but it's not at the same time because it can be taken away from you. And when you're in that cell alone and you can't leave,
you feel it.
You really do feel it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get into prison, you get beaten up, and you want to join the 26s, right? So you separate from your friends.
Yeah.
And how did you join the 26s?
What happened? I saw.
And what is the process of joining the 26s?
Okay, cool. I saw this guy with the name Sean, and I went to go stand next to him. And he wanted to see my jeans. That time, Kappa jeans came in. So I had those black Kappa jeans under my arm. And when he wanted to see my jean, I looked at him and I asked him, "Are you a 26? He said to me, "Yes, I'm a 26. Then I asked him, "Now, why do you want to take my clothes?" Because I know you 26 don't take clothes. You only look for money. And he's like, "Yo, you it's like you informed. Did you have money there on you?" I said, "Yes, I have a 10 rand." He's like, "How did you come in to prison with a 10 rand? I said, "Because I was rolling with my crew and they're all 28s and I don't want to be with them. I saw you and I saw the 26. That's why I came to stay next to you." He said, "Yo, now where's the 10 rand?" I'm like, "Yeah, here's it." And I give it to him and he takes the 10 and he looks at me and he's like, "You stick with me. You come with me." So I sticked with him. I went with him to what they call a Hofcel, which means it's for people who comes from court. That's the room you're going to sleep in the night you come from court. Then tomorrow you'll be distributed to your sections. So I went with him and I slept on the right side of the room and everything took part. What I mean everything took part is that we slept and we woke up the morning. And when we woke up the morning, he told me he's going to maximum, but there is a guy that is going to go with me to the juvenile section, which is the B5 section. So he's going to instruct this guy to look after me and to bring me in to the camp of 26 as a worksman of the 26. So that's when I went to the B5, and in the B5, it was like 5 rooms. It's like a square, 5 rooms, and it's like juveniles all in those rooms. And there were like 2 or 3 numbers who were represented the numbers, but mainly the people there, because the juvenile center, they could not make other numbers. So mainly there, it was only the worksmen of the 3 camps. Meaning worksman is like an internship. Do you understand?
So like you're a new member.
Yeah, but you're not actually in. You're still interning.
You're proving yourself.
Yeah, So I got the recitation. They give you something to recite. They call it the long road. So I got the long road, and a friend of mine, Leon, I met him there. He was also one of them. I'm like, "Yo, Leon, you here?" And he said, "Yeah, Thando, which side are you going?" That's the first thing he asked me. And I said, "I want to go up." And he said, "Yes, come with me." And he took me to another one who was also the 26 number. And he said, yo, I got a new member. Can I make him? And that guy said, come here, who are you? And he asked me a lot of questions, where I come from, why, what do I want in the 26 gang? And I explained to him as I explained to you about these two guys and how I want to be like these two guys. And he laughed and he said, you're already speaking the long road without you knowing that you're speaking the long road, because the long road is also being impressed by these two guys who comes to you and robs you and take your stuff. But those guys did not rob me, but what I saw from them intrigued me. And that's how I became a worksman of the camp of 26. And from then on, we had to move up and go into prison. To the, this is the juveniles, we had to go to the big men's prison so that we can become what we have. So that means to alter your age at the court. You appeared in court, you were minor, you were known. Come down, speak to an officer, hand him something. He changes your age on your card and makes you an older person. And from that older person, you go to an older section. And in an older section, you act as a member of a crew which is already in prison. That's a 26, 27, 28. They ask you, who are you? You tell them, no, I'm Ndoda. And they look at you and they see no tattoos on you and they ask you why you don't have tattoos. Then you explain your reason why you don't have tattoos. Then they will understand, then they will let you go. So that's how I got into the old people section and that's how I got into the place where I became a 26.
So you said that the cops change your age, or the wardens change your age, right?
Yes.
Are they in a way facilitating the process of you becoming a gang member? They're not stopping it, they're helping it in a way.
You know, I can put it like this. I'm gonna try to explain this in the sense that I'm not protecting them or placing a blame on them, but there's this thing that I always have in my mind even right now, because there's something that I'm busy mulling about in my mind, and I'm trying to create I have a vision of making a peace forum that's going to operate with the police, that's going to operate with ex-gangsters, that's going to operate with ongoing gangsters. But the thing that the aim will be for this peace forum is that let there stop being senseless killings. Stop the senseless killings. Speak things out. If things don't work out, work on other strategy, or let us as the peace forum and the police come in, try to resolve this. Because a lot of people are dying unnecessary. But now in that thing, there's always one thing that always comes back to me. What about the drug? What about the drugs being sold? You know? But at the end of the day, I tell myself that a drug is a choice that is dependent on the person. So even if I will tell you stop selling drugs, do you understand? It does not mean that the people are not going to use drugs. They will find other alternatives to get drugs. For instance, in the white areas, you don't get mandrake sticks and stuff being sold like out like in our townships, but yet you still get junkies here. Where do they get their drugs? They make a way. You understand? So it is senseless to try to stop a flow of something that is not dependent on how it is flowing, but it's dependent on its demand. You get what I'm trying to say?
So you're linking that back to the police.
To the police now.
The warden.
You're already in prison, so if you want to go there, it's not my problem.
They're not pushing you. They're just...
It's your choice, man.
It's your choice, yeah.
You want to go
They're just watching and letting it happen.
And I need this 20 rand to buy me a Coke or to buy me something.
That was a brilliant way you said that.
Yeah.
That is really, really brilliant. I wasn't sure where you were going for a second, but that was an amazing analogy.
Cool.
And I mean, I heard you were wild in prison. Why were you so wild?
I was not actually wild. I was like active in the number. Yeah, I rose, this is the person I am. I'm 100 type of person, 100% type of person. When I lock into something, I'm locked into it, you know. And I need to grasp what I'm part of. You know, even right now as I'm a born again Christian, you know, I'm like into it. I've got the understanding, you know, and I'm even at that point where I'm like, nobody can tell me anything about Jesus Christ. You know, because I've experienced him. So it's the same pertaining to what I was in when I was in the number. You know, when I was in the number, you could not tell me about the 3 camps. You could not tell me about.
You knew everything.
You know, I went in, I researched, I studied, I sorted out, I looked out for it, I asked questions. I wanted to know until I was filled with the knowledge. And when I'm filled with the knowledge, then it's the knowledge that I'm using. And I don't care who you are, where you come from. You know, I even had guys of my higher ranking because I rose up to the second department of the camp of 26, which is the production and the manufacturing phase of the 26. Then you get the first department, which is the overseers. You know, they call them springs. And we are called in the line of twos. So I was in the line of twos as a mela. A mela is like an attorney of the company. So I was an attorney of the camp.
So what were you overseeing?
We were not overseeing, we were producing.
What were you producing and manufacturing?
Numbers.
Other gang members.
Making 26s. You know, that is our thing. We are the heart of 26. We pump the blood.
So you're trying to create more soldiers or find more soldiers.
We create, we teach, we learn, we groom.
And are you getting into a lot of fights?
Yeah, a lot of fights I cannot say, but a lot of arguments. Reason being, you see the number. What I learned in the number is that people who fight over the number and who stab each other because of the number, or they are ignorant of the number itself. They don't really know why is the number there and what is the existence of the number. The existence of the number in prison is to keep the peace. Let there be not ongoing fightings. Let there be not unnecessary disputes, you know. Everything that maybe me and you will not agree upon it, we will go back into the number. We will go to the archives of the number, take out some files. Where did this happen? Why did that happen? Why can't this happen, you know? And we will bring all those things together and we will line them up, like in the sense of speaking, in the sense of sharing the information that we have. And you will also see with me and I also will see with you, and we will get to a place where we understand each other, even though if our perspectives are different. Do you understand? So that is the role of the number. But now you'll get people who are trying to abuse the number, who are trying to use the number towards their own advantage. Now those are people that I never tolerated. You know, I would stand up against them and I would give them the number. You know, especially when we meet maybe a hothead of a certain camp who's coming in and is trying to force his brothers now to be against us. I remember one time when I was still in the juvenile prisons before I go to maximum, when I was doing my first sentence, the whole section is fighting. The 26 and the 28 are stabbing each other. Like we are in H1, you know, and I'm like, yo, Sipo was the leader of the 28 on my side and I'm the leader of the 26. I'm like, yo, Sipo, we're not crazy. We don't know why these guys are fighting. We're not going to fight. Because I'm seeing Sipo is like he's getting reared up because they call him Sipo, the other 28.
He's getting ready. You know, he's getting pumped up to fight.
So I'm like, yo, don't be crazy, yo. What's the reason they're fighting? What does the number say? So I go into the number with him and we dig into the number and he sees with me. And I say, let's wait till tomorrow, man. And when the gates open, we're going to find out what happened. And from finding out, we will solve that out. There are rules and regulations, my brother. We cannot just because they're stabbing, we must stab. This is not the gangsterism. This is the number. This is the way of life in prison, you know? And yeah, we smolder things like that, so.
You're the first person that I've spoken to that I feel really understands what's going on about prison life and the number.
Yeah.
And I can see the way you speak about it. Because I've always had this thought that like, it started, like the number started for a certain reason. And then it's kind of just a name that people use, like, oh, I'm a 27, I'm a 26, I'm a 28. Yeah. But I can see with you, you really understand it.
Yeah, man.
Where do you learn this from? Who teaches you?
Word of mouth, man.
Is it all word of mouth?
Word of mouth.
So there's no written text, there's no book?
No written text. There's no written text.
Have you ever played the game Broken Telephone before?
No.
So Broken Telephone is like when one person says something, right? So I say, hi, my name is Josh Rubin and I am 10 feet tall, right? And then I go to the next person and I whisper to them. I say, hi, my name is Josh Rubin, I'm 10 feet tall. And then they whisper to the next person, but this time they say, hi, I'm Joshua Rubin and I'm 10 feet small, right? They mix up the words because that's what happens over time, you know?
Sure.
Especially with word of mouth, like with the Bible and all that kind of stuff. Someone says something and then you tell someone else and then they put their own spin on it, you know? So do you think the number has changed a lot over time? Do you think that the definition of it and the rules have changed a lot? and evolved?
Okay, in the sense of changing, you know the way I'm going to explain this is in the form also of languages. You know, every language, as every generation goes by, every language evolves. It goes into a different sphere, but still staying the same. Like you get a different slang, you get a different way of using a word, you get a different term, but it's still in the same process or it's still in the same line of language. It's still English, still Afrikaans, but just this generation is using that manner or that phrase. So the number hasn't changed at all its core, but its surface has started to change due to the influence of the people coming into contact with the number as generations continue. To understand? Most of us who were in the number, say from the 90s up until the 2000s, I always say that we got the last part or last portion of the trueness of the number, you know? And then from the 2000s, the number evolved again and it became in a lighter concept, you know? And it's now being infused with a lot of gangsterism, which was in my time and the time previous to that, gangsterism was totally not allowed.
So the number had nothing to do with being a
Yes,
gangster.
it had nothing to do with gangsterism. If you come into prison, your American Wood, your whatever gang, your Yaki, or whatever gang you are, man, that thing, whatever clique or crew you belong to, that thing stays outside of prison walls. You're in prison is 26, 28, 27, and France. The fourth camp does not exist in prison. But now, seeing that we also spoke about the evolvement of gangsterism also in black townships, to understand something that was never there has become to sprung up and is now in the black townships. It has also now also migrated into prison where blacks and colors alike bring the notion of gangsterism into prison within the structures of the number, which by now is weakening the number and strengthening the gangsters. Do you understand?
I do, yeah.
Yesterday, I was speaking to an old number friend, and he told me about he was in there like the last 2 months he was there, and like, yo, my brother, I messed up a little and I went to prison again after a long time. He's like, yo, Thando, I wanted to cry. I'm like, I can guess so. He said, brother, what is happening now there in Pollsmoor prison? Nah, my bro, I think the number is dying. So I said, yeah, I get you, because 2014 was my last time also in prison, incarcerated. And when I came there, I saw these different rooms with different set of gangsters, but still under the guise of the number. But you're living like that gang there. Is that gang there? You come in this room, there's a symbol of a flag of this gang depicting that gang. So what's up? You know?
So they're starting to bring the gangs into prison a bit.
So they're diffusing the number in the sense of way. So, but the number is still the number. It's still operating as it's operating, but the surface now is a little bit...
Because, like you say, it didn't start as a gang, the numbers, right? I mean, do you know the history of it, where it started?
I cannot speak.
You can't speak about
the history about, because that's like the core of it. But it started like in the 1800s, man.
In the 1800s.
Yeah.
It's for mine workers, hey.
Yeah, essentially, like the build-up of the number is in the mines, but it started in the 1800s with the invasion of the white people. You know, the number was structured so that it could defend and protect our people. It's a sort of a Robin Hood thing. Do you understand? The birth of the number was birthed out as a Robin Hood thing, you know, because we were looted and plundered, you know, by the white settlers that came into Africa at that time. They used to, like, the stories that we heard, show you a mirror first time you see your reflection. Crazy about the reflection. That will be 3 chickens and a cow, you know, and you keep your 3 chickens and a cow. So all these types of things and lands were taken away, you know, so that certain farms could be established for certain settlers.
So the number was formed to take it back.
Yeah, the number was like the mechanism that is fighting for the people against the invaders and to still try to sustain the people. That's the whole point and parcel that the number started for.
And you watched, I did an interview with the warden, right? From Pollsmoor prison. You were at Pollsmoor prison, right?
Yeah.
So you said to me, and I just want to start off by saying that he's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
Kieran is a lovely guy.
Yeah.
And he still works at Pollsmoor, so obviously he can't say everything.
Cool.
But what did you think he was lying about? You said he was lying about certain things.
Yeah, it's actually the one thing, man, that I didn't find true that he was speaking when he mentioned that the 3 camps are being governed by the camp of 28.
So he said that the 28s were the leaders of the numbers gang.
They were governing that. It's not like that, man. These are different entities on their own, whereby 2 or 1 house, the 26 and the 27 are 1 house, but they have different functions. 1 functions in blood, 1 functions in money. And the 28, they're also 1 house who also has the 2 functions, which is blood and money. Do you understand? But now, the one who sees that the stability stands firm in prison, or the one that the number, let me speak like that, the one that the number depicts as the stabilizer of the 3 camps is the 27. That's why he's given they call him the center post. He holds the center post because he guards the movements and the occurrences and the happenings within the prison, within the 2 camps, within the 3 camps.
Okay, so he got that wrong. And what are the conditions in prison like? Because he was also saying that there's like 7,000 people in Pollsmoor at the moment. When you were there, what were the conditions like? Was it overcrowded, poor living conditions? Yeah, just tell me a little bit about that.
No, when I was there, I said the last time was like in 2014. So when I was there, it's crammed, man.
A lot of people.
It's like crammed. The capacity of the room is maybe for 40 inmates, but we were up to 70 to 80 inmates within 1 room, So it's crammed. I heard him, he was talking in the sense of making things like splashy, but nah, it's not like that.
It's not nice.
Not 45 people or 50 people. It's like the double of the amount that is meant to be there. The double of the amount. And I would not say that it is their problem. It is just the influx of the criminals coming into prison.
I mean, that's not the guards' fault.
Yeah, it's not the guards'
That's the
fault.
system,
And they can only do with what they have.
And like, obviously, we know there's a lot of abuse that happens in prison. Were you ever abused in prison? Sexually, obviously?
Nah. Abuse in prison, yes, it happens, but it happens only to those who are weak, man, I would say so. To the weak people. When I say weak people, it's like you're not meant to be there. Nobody's meant to be there, but there are some people, man, that cannot stomach places like that, and they tend to collapse within. You see, prison is a place where fear rules, man. So if you are a fearful person and you fear every turn and corner, then something terrible will happen to you because there are hyenas and wolves all around. They're waiting for the exact moment, just to grab you or to catch you off guard. And that weakness that you will show will give them the upper hand to go over you. So I will not say it is something that is out in the open. No, it's not out in the open because it's just like when I was also in the number, I would always take care of certain types like that, No harassment, no intimidating other people, no keeping, especially the Francer,
The France are the new,
it's like the people that don't...
They're not gangsters yet.
They're not gangsters yet, yeah.
Or will never be gangsters.
Or will never be gangsters. It's your choice. You want to become one, you don't want to become one. So, yeah, I would always, stick out my neck for them. For people, when I would see a vulnerable person, I say, hey, this guy is vulnerable, is weak. I can see they will grab him,
So you would help him?
Yeah, I would help him. I would, boost his confidence, let him understand. We are all people. You can stand your ground. You can be your own man. So, yeah.
So you weren't fearful. You were feared. People respected you.
Yeah, I can say that, but my aim was never to be feared, man. My aim was just my space.
You wanted your own space.
My space, bro.
And who was there? What was some of the craziest things that happened to you in prison? I mean, was there any points where you almost like had a life or death experience where you almost died, or?
Yeah. I'm thinking. I was like way back. I remember one day, me and two brothers of the same camp of mine, we went on a visit. A besoek, they call it a besoek, a visit in prison. Yeah, we connected this visit through one guy who was of France, and he came into our protection, and we understood that he had people outside who were like moneyed and who were like drug merchants and stuff like that. So they came to see the people that were looking after this kid, you know. So they came and they saw us and they spoke to us, gave us money, tell us, look, you take care of him and blah, blah, blah. So, okay, we were cool with that. But on our way back into the courtyard where we all are, we came to find out that the whole camp of 28 is standing outside. And the whole camp of 26 is coming from inside, running outside, carrying knives. You know, there's been a stabbing, and 28 has been stabbed, and we see a few bleeding, and there's a whole commotion. And we coming in. Now, you must understand what happens now is the visit warden, the warden that is posted in the visit room, he takes you from the visit, brings you to the gate of your place, your section. He opens the gate, he puts you in, he locks the gate, and he go. So when he opened the gate and he put us in and he locked the gate, that's the time when we realize what is happening. And the whole of the 28 gangs, they hear and they turn around and they see us. We are active members. We are in leadership in the 26. Do you understand? And they turn around and they saw us and they started brandishing their knives. And I'm looking, I'm like, we're dead today, you know? And as I'm looking, one friend of mine, who was actually a friend of my brother, but became a friend of mine, is dead today. Ayanda Zanzi, we used to call him. He was like the leader of the 28s there. And when he saw the shift, the change, and everybody looking this side, he also looked this side. And I remember Bastard 128 was named Bastard. He didn't like me because he did not have number for me. I would always like push him back, you know. And he was like coming for me. I'm seeing this guy's going to stab me. And Ayanda just gave one shout, "Wait, halt!"
And he stopped them.
And he stopped them and he said, "Can't you see these guys are not part of what is transpiring here?" And he says, "You guys, you get on the roof. There's like a veranda." So we had to get on the veranda and lay there because he could not protect us around his brothers. So we had to climb on the veranda, and it took like a while for the other wardens to come and see what was transpiring while we were laying there upstairs on the roof.
And how long were you in prison for? What was your longest stretch?
My longest stretch in prison that I did was say plus minus 6 years. It was in my 8-year sentence, which I plus minus did as 6 years, but it was actually, say, 4 years to 8 months in prison with the amnesty now. Yeah, so.
So you were sentenced to 8 years, but you did 6 years?
Yes.
Roughly. And when you got out, now you had been in a gang, right? Because your whole thing is that you stand alone.
Yeah.
Right? But you had gone to prison, you had been in a gang. The Numbers gang, and then when you got out, what was that like?
When I got out, I was still in Crossroads. When I got out, I was the only 26 within the 28 camp, you know, and everybody started to recognize me, to see me as this new wave being ushered in. And I remember some crew members of us became also 26 because of the stance that I took. Siseko became a 26. Lunga, he just passed away now, became a 26. Tobela, my cousin, also became a 26, you know. Menzi, he's passed away, also became a 26. And Anelo, who also passed away, was like many crews, many peers of mine now started to follow in that route.
Yeah.
You know, because everyone was just following 28. You know. Then, as I mentioned to you over the phone, that my mom's, due to the way that me and my brother were acting in Crossroads, my mom was a very quiet in-house person, and she could not understand or grasp what the people were telling her about the kids. Because when the kids would step into the house, they were like her children and her angels, you know. But when they step out, they will become these vicious demons or these lions or whatever you want to call this type of apex predator that we would become. So she could not conjure in her mind, how can my kids be like that, you know? And then she came to that place where my brother hasn't passed away. In 1997, my mom is like, she can no longer stay here. And then my sister offered to buy my mom a house, you know, in Mitchell's Plain. Then so that she can take this house. My mom said, no, you buy that house for you in Mitchell's Plain for you and your kids. I'm going to go stay with you there. But we leave this house here for Thando and for Siko and Tarich, my older brother, to have a place. As they're still roaming around here, it will not be easy to get them quickly out of here. So that's how things happened. And my mom went there and we stayed there. We just go pop in and stuff like that, see the area, know a couple of people and know where they're
So you didn't move to Mitchell's Plain?
at that present time.
You were staying in your
I was
place?
still staying in Crossroads in our house, you know. But in 2003, my brother passed away 2002, the 15th of September. They shot him dead in Guguletu. They shot me on the 13th, and I was laying in hospital when I heard the news that my brother passed away, you know. So when I came back, I did the whole revenge saga thingy, which I'm not.
So did you go after the people that killed your brother?
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
You don't have to go into that. It's
So
fine.
we did that, and when we done that, I just had a void in me, like an empty space. Why am I still here? For what reason am I here? Am I also looking for my death now? You know? Where's my family? What is tying me to Crossroad? Nothing. My family is in Mitchell's Plain. My brother, whose life was Crossroads, who I also followed from younghood, is gone now. So what's the reason I'm still here? Understand? And then I just made a decision. I'm going to stay in Mitchell's Plain with my mom's. And that's when I stayed in Mitchell's Plain. But staying in Mitchell's Plain, that did not mean that I'm not coming anymore to Crossroads. I will come to Crossroads, come to Falopi, but the interest of the Lucas started to fade
away.
And I stayed in Mitchell's Plain.
Started moving towards Mitchell's Plain a bit.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, you were in a gang in prison, right?
Yeah.
And now you're out. Your brother's passed away.
Yeah.
Did you ever think of joining another gang, a street gang?
No. I never thought of joining a street gang because I already had 2 cliques that I was operating with. My brother's clique, which was now my crew. But then I birthed also a clique called the ADKs. We would call ourselves the ADKs, meaning those who fear no death. You know, Amatela Kufa, those who fear no death. So we became this clique. We were like a group of 5 guys, you know, specializing in windscreen breaking, as I mentioned before. And we 5 guys, we continued the warfare that had begun with my brother's crew. Understand? Now my brother's crew, most of them are in prison now. Most of them have died off. So now I had to carry the banner. Me and Umkolisi, you know, we had to carry this banner now. We had to represent Crossroads with these guys that we're fighting with. And now it's not only Nyanga East, it was also lower Crossroad guys that we were fighting with, who were also once part of our team. We broke in the middle, you know, and all those types of stuff. So we were like this crazy 5 dudes and these crazy 5 dudes that would do anything, anywhere, anytime. And nobody, when we would step into Crossroads at 7 o'clock, we would hide maybe the whole day in KTC, New Cross, Kailicha. We would hide because we know the police are looking for us. We know the enemy is also looking for us. And our enemy by that time were more sophisticated. They had cars because they were robbing the armed vehicle trucks, you know. They were doing those types of things. And we were sticking to our housebreaking, car hijacking scenes. We were not climbing the ladder because for us, that's a death sentence. Why you want to go throw yourself in death, you know? So they were like in that league and they were like a big crew. But we stood our ground for quite some couple of months and we pushed them back and we were fighting. So I had that crew. So that was my killing crew, my killing squad crew. We used to stand as we fear no death. And then I also had an escape crew, a crew which I could escape to, a crew which I could just become just a normal guy.
Just your normal friends.
Yeah, you know, and that I called, we called ourselves the Waza Weekends. Come weekend, you know, we were like the weekend spoilers, you know, enjoying ourselves, you know. So that is the crew of Menzi, Tobela, you know, and Dota, who passed away also. Yeah, or Baji or Blondie, you know. This was a crew of nice time, you know. Yes, we carried
You're
guns.
having fun.
Yeah, we
Yeah, you have
carried
fun with
guns.
these guys.
We carry guns. We have our own guns. This crew has its own guns, but this is the nice crew, man. This is so yeah. So I never thought of branching out and becoming a part of any people. So to kind of answer your question as to when exactly did I entangle myself with the gang world is when 2003 when I decided to stay in Mitchell's Plain and stop moving back and forth, you know. So I stayed in Mitchell's Plain. And in my staying in Mitchell's Plain, me and Mkolisi, we went to go buy a Mandrix pole. We wanted to smoke, we call it a button, a Mandrix. We wanted to smoke a Mandrix, so we went to go buy a Mandrix. I already knew where the people are, already introduced myself to them, and they already know, okay, there's a new guy. And then there was a house, a broken house. We used to call it the Broken Palace. So we had to go sit there and smoke there. So we were sitting and smoking there, me and my friend one day, and I had my gun with me, you know, 2 bricks against the wall, gun here, other brick on top, covered off by the gun, you know. So my gun is not visible to you, but I can see it, I can grab it anytime. So we're smoking. And this crew rolls in, you know, the Americans, and they roll in and they starting, you know, hey, who are you and what you doing? Yeah, you know, the language thing, Kuala Kanzani stuff. So I hit back at them, yo. I am Tangasa and my friend, yo, he's Mr. 28 and I'm a 26. And this guy that is talking to me is a 27. So I give him, and he gives me, and he gives me, and he say, okay. And then he wants to grab something of mine. And I'm like, yo, what's up? He wants to grab my bag. He wants to inspect my bag. I'm like, yo, what's up? What you doing? And like, yeah, this is our ground with the 27. We with the Americans, yeah, and blah, blah, blah. Coming with that bravado, machoism towards me, man. I'm like, yo, brother, why didn't you get? So as he's like still forcing to do his thing, his crew standing there still looking, what's up? You know, I just grabbed my gun and I just pulled my gun. Yo, what's up? You know, and he like freezed. And as he freezed me, I say, you better back off or I shoot you now, you know? And he's like, yeah, you better shoot because you're going to see now and blah, blah, blah. So as they ran, I hit one shot, you know, and it echoes into the house. And the whole crew that was standing there, they like ran, you know. And as they're running, they're telling me, yeah, you're going to Kuala, meaning I'm going to see, we're going to come for you. And that's how my friction or conflict with the Americans started. And at that same time...
That's crazy,
yeah. And at the same time, that's when I had like my guns and my brother's guns. So I had 13 guns.
You had 13 guns?
Yeah, up to 13 guns.
Before we get into that, I mean, so... At this point, you had decided to stand alone, right?
Yeah.
You were like, I don't want to join a crew.
Yeah.
I've got friends and I've got crews, but I don't want to join a gang.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So you moved to Mitchell's Plain.
Sure.
Or you're in Mitchell's Plain.
Yes.
And I heard this insane story where these guys stepped up to you and you wanted to show them that you're in town now.
Yeah.
You know, this is my hood now. I'm here. Thando's taking over.
I'm seeing Notorious now.
And what did you do when they try to step up to you?
No, when I stepped up to me, I stepped back. That's the incident with me and Reggie, you know?
When they came and you pulled up the gun. And,
I pulled the gun and I hit one shot.
So after that incident, right, you get all your friends' guns, your brother's guns, your guns, and what do?
No, I had these guns on me because my brother just passed away.
Okay.
So I went to go pick up his guns and I also had some guns of mine that were stashed in the same place, me and my brother. So I brought them to Mitchell's Plain. So at the time, it's 2003, I think that was when load shedding was showing its neck because there was like from 7 till 9 or so 7 till 8.
The power is off.
Power is off. And in that space of time, I started getting these ideas when I was having this debacle with these guys that I needed to plant a gun here, hide a gun there, you know. And I would do this in the still of the night when the lights are off, you know.
So you'd go around, put guns everywhere. And
I would like make a hole, put it there, sieve it in, move something just to mark it, okay, that's that, you know. Because most of the time I would spend only in my mom's driveway. And my mom's driveway was looking across this field where I've put my stuff in. And my first encounter with them was when they pulled up with a taxi and this guy just came out of the prison, the hitman of them, and everybody was just talking about him. He's coming out. And you know, when he comes out, everything goes, wah, wah, wah. You know, they're just waiting on him. So I'm standing there one day, I got the P21 on me, and I'm standing there, and this guy come down with a taxi. And he's like, yeah, there's the kafo. Out of the taxi. Taxi is blazing numbers, and the whole American flag is sticking out there. There's that kafo, and blah, 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 And the taxi driver one, Adnan First, he became a great friend of mine. He stops, he's the hitman they were talking about. He stops the taxi and he looks at me and he say, that kafo. So as he's saying that kafo, I step up to him. I say to him, you say that again. I say, say it again. Call me again a kafo, man. And as he's looking at me, he sees where I'm at. I'm like, call me again a kafo. And like the music is playing loud in the taxi, man. But the taxi is like quiet. There's silence in the taxi. And I'm facing over this dude. I'm like, call me that again. And he just looked at me and he just changed the gears of the taxi and he drove away. And I knew they're coming. And when they came, I was ready for them. And we started having the shootout.
How did that work though? So they came, you started the shootout. So you had one gun in your hand. Mm-hmm. And then what happened from there? They started shooting, you start shooting back.
Yeah. I shoot back and I ran a different direction. So I jumped over my neighbor's yard. I jumped over, I get into our yard, took the gun that was behind the wall here by our yard, started shooting with them. While I'm shooting at them, I'm also going towards another position where there's another gun. So I'm like jumping yards and they're like spread out here over the field. And that time they were building the masjid, so they were standing all over there. So they were like hiding and shooting at me. So I had to do all this running around, going from one gun to another gun, going from one gun to another gun. And it lasted for quite some time. No, I cannot exaggerate now and give you an estimation of time. But it lasted, say, maybe close to an hour, me and them and me and them. And then they started running because the cops were coming, and I also started running. But when they were running, I shot one guy.
You shot one of them?
Yes, I saw him fall because he was going for the vibes. He was going to jump. And I just
popped him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're having this gang fight. You were one guy versus how many?
Say around about 10 guys.
Versus 10 guys.
But in those 10 guys, only 2 guns.
So you were running around, shooting guns from all different positions.
Yeah.
And they must have thought that there was like 100 guys shooting back at them.
Many guys shooting back at them.
Did they know it was only you?
I cannot surely say they knew it was only me because I used to roll down there with my crossroads click, But I'm not sure if at that present time they knew it was me because it was also dark. But gradually as time went on, they started to see this is the guy standing up towards us. This is the guy, because many of them did not actually know who I am. And many of them started to see me and started to hear me, and I started to poise out. And
so you built a name in the community.
Yeah.
And how did they treat you once they found out that it was all you?
What happened is one guy came out of prison and his name is Johnny Captain Malinga. He knew me from prison, from my youngness when I was in prison, when I wanted to go to the old men section. That's when I met him there. And he came out of prison, and when he came out of prison, he heard about this Thando 826, who's having now this fight with the Americans and all this stuff. And, my name was waggling in their mouths, and he said, hey, I want to see this guy. And I remember them rolling up to my house, and as they come to my house, I come forward, I produce. I'm like, yo, what's up? So I'm like, what's up? He steps out and he's like, yo, Thando, it's me. I need to speak to you. And I'm like, yeah, Malinga, I see you, but tell your people to go. I don't speak with them. And he's like, no, that's the reason why I'm here to speak. They're with me. You cool with me, ain't you? I'm like, if you cool with me, I'm cool with you. And then we started to speak and he started to tell me, yo, this can stop. This is unnecessary. We belong to one camp and blah, 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 blah there. And I said, I'm cool. But the only thing that I'm doing now, I'm protecting me and mine because I'm the only black person here. And these people inside those houses is mostly female. So if anybody comes through me, then they can do anything in here. So that's why I'm standing out.
You have to protect.
And he's like, yo, we can work this out. And we started mending bridges, but I did not trust him.
And Darius was telling me that you were alone and you worked alone, but you would cooperate with other gangs.
Yeah.
So because you would sell drugs and do that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And they would have to let you in a way do it.
Sure.
Right? You built your name and you earned their respect. So they let you do it. Is that right?
Okay. Let me do it.
They didn't stop you or try to stop you.
Yeah, they did not. You know, I did things. I did things in a manner that doesn't come against your ways of doing things. Do you understand? What I did, I started positioning myself at home and I started selling drugs from home. And here on top, people were selling drugs and they knew about me selling drugs at home. And I asked them, I remember one day, he rest in peace, Gegi, he came to me and he asked me one day, under whose authority am I selling? And I'm like, under the three camps authority. Because any member of the three camp, when you step out of prison, the three camps gives you the authority to go look for means of producing money so that you can take care of your family. So I gave them that and he knew that and he accepted that. And then he said that we need to work out a way where I don't sell like the same type of drug with a lesser amount because people are going to start coming to me. So I stayed in those limits. We sell the same.
So you follow the
let them
rules.
choose. You understand? Yeah. And I always operated in that sense. But, you know, there are people that try to do what I was doing and they were like stopped or robbed or things taken off of them. But none dared to venture into my space in that sense. So I would do what I wanted to do, not in the sense of I did not care about anyone. I always did everything within the loopholes.
The laws.
Yeah, within the laws. Yeah, using the loopholes.
What benefits does standing alone have, right? Why did you choose to stand alone? What does it give you that joining a gang doesn't give you?
My identity, man. Being myself. Making my own decisions. Falling on my own. Standing up on my own. You know? Because many people that I've seen, and yeah, many people that I've seen, they do things. Yeah, I used to go out with certain gangs and we go do something, and when the heat comes on, then I would look at this guy, and this guy would like crumble and cry, maybe in the van with the police. Police arrested us now for some shooting or whatever. And he would cry and he would beg and he would say, but I did not want to do it. I was sent, you know. If I did not do it, I would have been hurt and all those types of stuff. And I'm like, yo, bro, just shut up. You know, you're in this life, man. You chose this life. You can't say this life chose you. You made the decision to come there and say, yo, I want to be part of this. So whatever is coming your way, you got to suck it up and do what you have to do. But I always saw them and they were like,
You saw weakness in the groups. The gangs were weak.
you know, and
Because
that's
you're
the only
only
reason.
you're only as strong as your weakest member.
Yeah, you know, that's the only reason.
And if it was just you, you knew you were strong.
Brother, when the cops arrest me from Crossroads to Mitchell's Plain, they know they get nothing out of me. They can now do whatever they want to, threaten me whichever way they wanted to, tell me they're going to stop there and drop me there, but my enemies, I don't care. You ain't get nothing out of me. I'm to speak to the judge, that's all.
And was it, because you said it's a choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a choice to be a gangster.
Yeah.
Is that a choice that, what I'm trying to say is basically, if it's not a choice, you're not such a bad person. But what you're saying is you chose to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to kill and you wanted to do these bad things, right?
Okay.
So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about knowing that this was a choice for you and that you chose to do those things?
Okay, let me just bring this out because I wanted to start off with this. Whatever I did, I'm not proud of what I did. But I was thinking this morning, if you would ask me a question, if would I do it again if I got the same chance? And my answer is, if my situation is not going to be altered and my situation will stay the same as it was that time, then definitely I'll do it again. Do you understand? There are some things in life where some forces in life, they shape our choices that we make. Do you understand? As I told you, Crossroads was a John Wick society. It's a place where killers rule, killers stay, killers live. If you're not a killer, you die. Or if you're not dying, you live under the thumb of someone else. So it's either you be on your knees or you standing. You get that notion where they ask a person, you want to die on your knees or you want to die standing. You know? So I chose to die standing. I chose to stand. I chose to become what I became because of the situation and the circumstances that I was placed in and that I was in at that present time, because it required that. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna tell you, my dad did not make a mistake to take us to Crossroads. No. But there's something that my mom always would mention and said that when I was young, she worked for certain people in Rondebosch. Now she tells me this. I don't recall this because as I mentioned, what I recall, I'm going to speak about growing up in Breda Park. But my mom told me, no, before that we used to stay in Wynberg, you know. And there was those two couples that my mom used to work for that wanted not to adopt me into the sense, but they wanted to take care of me. They wanted to send me to school. They wanted to you know, everything. They wanted to sort my life out. And my pops said no. Because my pops thought the white people want to take his child away, you know. And my pop comes from a Transkei background, you know, the apartheid thingy. So the mindset is still clogged up with all that hatred, you know.
He has trust issues, yeah.
Yeah. So my pops actually picked up my mom. I don't know if it's in the middle of the night or it's in a suddenly thing, but they had to move. And my mom lost contact with those people. And my pops left the job and he got the job in Breda Park and blah, blah, blah. And my life continued. So say, for instance, if I had that, if I did not maybe step into Crossroads, maybe I stayed in Breda Park, or I
You would have been a
grew up
different
there,
person.
I would be in a different person because the situation and the circumstances around me were pretty much cozier, pretty much easier, you know?
And do you wish that would have happened? Do you wish you would have been adopted?
From what I know now, no. Because, you know, I recognize something, and I was crying, my brother. When was it? I spoke to you and we were readying this thing. You know, the night I went up into my brother-in-law's room and the song of Rick Ross is playing, you know. We started in the streets. We were not elected, but now we made it. And it goes like that. I tried to memorize it, you know. But as the song was playing, I just went up into his room and I just worshipped on that song. Because now as that song was singing, I'm just praising my God, just giving honor and glory to Jesus Christ, because a flashback is happening to me at a time. And I wanted to bring some photos, and I told my wife, you know, when you need things, you don't get them. But when you don't need them, you find them. I was looking for them like mad in my house, you know, but I could not find the photos of my brother and his friends and the photos of me and the photos of my wife. But the whole crew of my brother and the crews that I had, all of them are dead. They're dead and gone. You understand? And I am the only link to them by bringing out the stories, man, and mentioning that that person was there.
Saying their name.
You understand? I'm the only link to them. So if it was not for that journey, I would not have been here. And I would not have become this person that I've become, because now I'm a person who knows what he wants. Do you understand?
You can be a leader in a different way.
You understand? Whatever can be brought to me now, I can say, like, people can come to me like, yo, my bro, we got this gun, we got those guns, we got bulk guns here, we got this money for you, we got this. I'm like, it's cool, dude. You know, I had guys coming up to me like, my bro, don't you want me to give you a gun? You know, for the person that you are, you know, things can happen. I'm like, yo, the Bible is now my gun, man. You know, I'm not stepping anymore into those types of scenarios, into those types of things. But if I did not know those things, and if I didn't have passed these walks that I've passed in my life, I would be easily allured away from the spot that I am now. You know, if person will bring me like a batch of tuck and a batch of mandrakes and he tell me that's for you, you can do whatever you want, I would like say, oh, With this batch of tuck, I can buy me a house. With that batch of pulls, I can buy me a car. These are the mindsets that we get when we see these types of things. But from taking the products from point A to point B, that's the struggle. And at the end of the day, you end up botching it up. You're not even halfway. Then you end up being in debt. Then you end up needing to hustle again to get that back. You know, it's a trap.
And I mean, how long were you selling drugs for? So,
I think I sold drugs for 10 years.
and like you said, you would look at a bag of pills and you would see a house, and you would see a bag of powder and you would see a car, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever get a car? Did you ever get a house?
Nada. That's why I say from point A
Something
to
happens.
point B, in the middle, you ain't even reached the middle, man.
And it's all
you've
gone already.
crumbled.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And in the crumble, now you still have a debt. You understand? Because the debt will not be actually the mandrakes that you have to pay, but the debt will be the continuous supply. Because the person that will give you drugs and he says it's yours, you can sell it, do whatever you want, he's just making sure that you will come and buy by him. And if you're not buying by him, now we'll come and knock at the door. Yo, where are you buying from? Why are you not selling? No, I lost that or those things just gone away. Then you say, okay, now you sell for me. You understand?
You become part of someone else's
It's a
system.
trap, man.
Yeah.
You stay in that trap. You stay in that trap. So even when I was smuggling, I used to smuggle on the capacity of my own. Why I would do maybe jobs for a certain gang. And in that job, I would give a price. And that price, I would want half of it in drugs and half of it in currency. Do you understand? And they would always pay me first the drugs. And then the currency, it was always a stalling. But at the end of the day, they would pay because I would always be standing in front of the gates telling him, yo, I'm going to stop your flow of your selling. I'm going to come against you if you don't give me my money. So it was always a hassle. But
So there was always something going on,
Yeah,
that
you know-
ended up you losing the money, or
Yeah.
something would always happen.
you
Yeah.
understand, or maybe you go to prison and they say, but yeah, we wanted to pay you and you were
Yeah.
not here, but I'm here now.
There's
Like,
always an
yeah,
excuse.
give
Yeah.
us some time, we'll come back to you, you know. So every time when I would get maybe a quantity of drugs, I would say like, okay, I can get that. But you never get to that point where you can even scratch the surface of starting.
You can't save anything. You can't.
can't,
Yeah.
because-
You're not building a future.
Yeah, you know, I remember this one weekend. No, it's not a weekend. It's the middle of the week. I had around about 15,000 on me, like on a Wednesday. Come Saturday, I had no money left.
It was all gone.
I'm like, where did the money go? What did I do? I actually literally looked at my hands. Is there holes here in my hands? Why is the money slipping away from me?
What were you spending it on?
Smokes,
Drugs,
drinking,
alcohol, yeah,
women, you know?
everything.
And every time when you buy more drugs, you're like, okay, I'm going to sell a little bit to cover that money. Then I'm going to go. But it doesn't get there. You don't get there.
I also heard that you made money other ways as well. If I'm not mistaken, you wanted to be a hitman.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever become a hitman? Because Darius was saying that you wanted to become the biggest hitman there's ever been. You don't have to say it if you don't want to. You don't have to speak it. We can move on.
That's an ambition
At the time, yeah.
at a time. But we used to do jobs, man. For different.
Just before we get into kind of how you got out of the life, right? Can you just tell me a few of the craziest things that happened while you were on the streets? Some crazy fights or something that happened that really sticks out in your memory when you think back at that time?
Man, my whole life was crazy, but I'm going to give you one. I'm going to give you one thing. Okay, I'm going to give you two.
The craziest things you can think of.
Yeah.
Because I can see you got some stories.
I got to give you two, man. You know, as I mentioned, the main road separating Crossroad from Nyanga East, and we have this beef, this long-standing beef with the Nyanga East crew, you know? And we also have this long-standing beef with the Lower Cross crew. But you know where my girlfriends were? All my girlfriends were in the enemy's camp. And I had to go in to go fetch them. And my brother would always be crazy about that. Yo, why do you have to go in? And he would call them. And he would like threaten them. You better, when you come from school, you come to Thando. Thando mustn't, you know, it was always be like that. And you know, many a times I have met with a lot of, what you call this, a lot of happenings, you know, I remember one day I went to go fetch my girl in Nyanga East. And my brother just told me that day, you're not going anywhere. I'm like, oh, no, cool, I'm not going. He's like, come here, come here. And he's the only one that can do that, lift up my sweater, take out my gun. And it will keep him. And that is his assurance that I'm going nowhere. But he forgot that the reputation that I've built so far is when people just see me, they see a gun and they run away. You understand? So I do not care if I have a gun or do not have a gun, but I know that my enemies and anyone who want to
They
stand
think you
in
have
my
a gun.
way, they will know this guy doesn't move without the gun. So I just moved over and I just went in. And in going in, I see my girlfriend coming out from my house, going to a shop. So I followed her and I called her. And she tells me, wait for me, you go back, I'm coming. I'm saying, no, I'm going to wait for you here. She said, man, please, man, I'm going to the shop. I'm saying, hey, you make quick, I'll wait for you here. So as I'm waiting, the crew that we're fighting with comes around like from an alleyway, man, behind me. And they come and I'm like, I'm drunk. I'm in a drunken state, man. And as they come, I see this group like passing me. And this one guy turns around and he looks at me and he takes out the gun and he says, yeah, you died today. And I just looked at him and I said, then you better do it. And he puts the gun in my face. He puts the gun in my face and I don't know why, man. He did not pull the trigger, but he just kept on talking up until the time when my girlfriend came out of the shop and she ran to us. And she ran and she bumped the gun with her head. And she's like, shoot me, you know? And they're standing. But he was mocking me while he had the gun. Yeah, you're going to die today. You think you the what. And, you know, where's your brothers now? Where's your friends? Telling his crew, you see how we got him. But I'm just standing there because I always had this thing. I will never cry. I'm not going to cry. And I'm not going to scream for help when my day comes. When my day comes, I'll take it like a man. Because I don't want to give you the satisfaction of laughing about me when I'm dead already, because I've seen those types of stuff happening.
Someone dies and they beg.
Yeah,
They make fun of him.
We
Yeah.
beg like a pussy. You know, people would talk that and make a joke and laugh around. So, yeah. And in that instance, my girlfriend came and she tried to stop everything. And those guys told me, you're lucky she's here because we know her and we know her family. But next time you will not be so lucky. And they beat me up and they kicked me to a pulp, you know. And I was laying there and my girlfriend, like, please stand up, come, let's go. And she's crying, calling for help. And they're walking away. And they spat on me, you know, I'm full of spit. And I stood up and I ran home, you know. And my girlfriend trying to solve me. I ran straight home. When I came home into my room, I had a 303 gun, a rifle, elephant rifle. You see those safari things. I had that. I took that out and I took the bullets. I loaded the cartridge load 6. I loaded the cartridge 6 and I took my 38 special and I went out of the door. As I'm going out of the door, in that moment, my brother and his crew come in with the text and they stop and they're like, what's up? And they see me and I don't answer. I just go and they'll follow me with the text and we did a whole lot of shooting there. But when we came there, we didn't find the crew, but we find some of them. You know, we didn't find the main crew.
You didn't find all of them, yeah.
Yeah. So we did a whole lot of shooting. And I remember an incident.
Where did you get the elephant gun from?
Housebreaking, man.
From housebreaking?
Yeah, most of the guns you got it from housebreaking. You know, the places where most guns are is Brackenfell, Eckfontein, Durbanville.
And then what was the other story?
The other one is the fight with the Lower Cross guys. We were in KTC for a while and we're coming back. We're looking for these dudes. As we're coming back into our area, the Nike had this thing that Nike just came out with Climate Cool that time. You see Climate Cool with that silver lining when it's so shiny. So everybody's wearing this tracksuit, the silver lining is shiny, but we don't wear it. Me and my crew, we don't wear it because it associates with the enemy. The enemy likes wearing those stuff. So we're looking for this crew and we see a crew with the same pattern of clothes. And they're also walking in a spread formation like we're walking in a spread formation. And you know, only guys who are fighting walk like that. They don't walk in a cluster. They spread.
So that if the bullets start flying,
yeah, you know,
not everyone's together.
Not everyone's, yeah. So they're walking in the same manner. And we started to address them. And in addressing them, the whole shootout starts. And we shot at those guys and they shot at us and we ran. And I remember, it's like we come out of the passage, then it's a road. So other of the crew ran over here. This is the corner, and they hid around the yard there, the vibe brigade is there. And we in this passage, wanting to come out, going to them, But there's also some guys of them here. And anyone that is coming out, they shoot. They shot from Doda in the leg. And we pull Doda in. So when we're putting Doda in, those guys there, they're also shooting at us. So I give an instruction to my friends. I said, you keep those guys busy. I'm going to be busy with these two guys. I literally had to climb on a roof of a house and jump over to the other roof just to shoot at those guys there in the passage.
That's insane, eh? I mean, it's so crazy how like we can sit down at this table and have a conversation like this.
Yeah.
You know, two people from completely different backgrounds,
Yeah.
and we've led completely different lives, but here we are just talking about it, you know.
Jumping away.
And it's crazy to think that the person sitting in front of me, you, has gone through all of this and has done all of this. Because sitting here today, you look like a completely different man.
I totally am, man.
And I can see that.
Yeah.
But can you tell me, when did you decide that this life was not for you anymore?
Okay, cool. You see, there's one thing I want to state, man. I never made a decision. God made a decision for me. I'm not being now religious and I'm not being now super spiritual or whatever. My brother, I wanted to die. I was at the depths of my life. I was in a point where I saw that my life is going nowhere fast. And I saw that everything that I have tried so far to bring me to where I aspired to be did not. It's a failed project. And I'm in that place where I so wanted to die, man. I remember there was a new gang settling in, you know. As the years progressed, the streets changed, the powers changed in the streets. So there's this new gang, you know, coming in. And I remember wanting to take this gang head on. And everybody was like stopping me. I remember even leaders from a certain gang that I used to operate with came from different areas to come and speak to me. He said, no, don't go there. Leave it. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, now what's up? What is left for me to do? What can I do? And then there's something that this leader told me that made me afraid even for those around me. So I started to have trust issues, you know. What I want to say is, Josh, you think me and you, we're on the same page, but all to find out that I'm no longer with you on the same page, but I'm on the other page. But I'm still acting as if I'm on the same page with you. It will make you scared, especially in the lifestyle that we live in. You know, many of our brothers, we call brothers, you know, have started to assert themselves or to associate themselves in the sense of saving their life, you know, all these types of stuff with the new power that is gaining. And then just something came to me, change location. So this is Eastridge, then there's a big field, then that is also Eastridge. This is where I'm staying at the current moment, Don Carlos. This Eastridge, this side is Palestrina, that is where my mom stays, where we stayed. So I just felt that I had to get out of this place. And I'm already a guy who has already made connections in that area. I already know people and places there where I can go to. So I started to move there, and that was all the years, the HL territory. So the guys here thought I have now gone and associated myself with the HLs. And they came around to go look and to go find out what am I doing here. I'm like, yo, don't check up on me. You know, if I did not join you, why do you think I will join them? You understand? And they said, no, you make us worried. And I said, no, be cool. Everything is all right. But that is where I actually met Charlene, my wife. And I was going out with the other girl at that time. And when I met Charlene, that's how the story, man. That I always keep telling Darius, he needs to start writing a story. You need to interview her also one day. She used to be called the white lady because she's light of complexion. Her father is Portuguese and her mother is colored. So she's very light of complexion. And she used to sell drugs on a high scale, on her own, as a woman, in a man run and in a drug-infested thing. And she used to stand on her own. So just her alone, she amazed me and she intrigued me in such a sense that I told that girlfriend that I had one day that if you botch up, that's going to be my next girlfriend. And she bust up really, and then she and she became my next girlfriend, you know. And when I came into her circle, I felt I had to change for her. Because when I came there, she had two small children. That's CJ and that's Cleo. And CJ, I think at that time was 6 years old. And I think Cleo was 2 years old when I came into their life, you know. And she was selling drugs for a means to an ends for her and her family and her children. And she also had a younger son named Clayton, an older son whose name is Clayton. At that time, I think he was 16, 17, 18, you know, around that ages. So she was doing all this to support herself and her children and to support her moms, you know. But her moms had the dad was working and blah, blah, blah. But she did it for survival, man. She did it to take care of her children. Now here comes this guy full of gangsterism, full of guns and full of a lot of Sabella stuff and full of attraction to other gangs and other people because I was the highest ranking official in the camp of 26 and all the people that would come into the area, they would always come to me, meet with me, speak with me. Others would come seeking to want to know more about the number. You understand? Coming to learn. Others would come for a word of wisdom. So I was this type of attraction guy who attracted all the wrong people for the wrong thing. You understand? And it started to become a conflict for me and Charlene because she's like,
this can't be around my kids.
yeah, man. And I came in with a gun one day and she's like, I'm like, yo, this is my life. I can't be without this. And she said that you better choose me or that. And I'm like, what you talking? And she's like, Thando, this gun cannot stay in my house. What if my child scratches there and she sees the gun and the gun goes off? You know, and she mentioned all these dangers that could occur. So I had to hide the gun outside. So hiding this gun outside was a very big thing for me because now I could not sleep. I don't know who saw me, who didn't see me. So every time, you know, going there, going.
You don't know if someone else is going to come and steal your gun and shoot you with it.
So I'm checking every time this gun and I came to the point, I said, can't we work something out? And she asked, what? I said, look here, I cannot walk without a gun. So I need, when I come in the gun, can you take the gun over to your mom's house? So she did that. She started taking the gun over to mom's house. And then I started thinking, if I'm here and the gun is like 40, 50 feet away from me.
Why? Because the mom lived close.
Yeah, like just a street over the bend. So I'm like, if I'm here and the gun is there, what's the use? I'm always carrying a gun if I can love the space of time without a gun. Because if anything even now should happen, I still have to run over to go get the gun. If I don't have the chance to go get the gun, what then? But I don't have the opportunity or the option of keeping this gun here. So that's where my letting go of the gun started. I started to let go of the gun and I started giving my brothers the guns. That time I'm in the brotherhood with the other great guy. He's there today, Eugene Lawrence. We used to call him Genie. He was younger than me, but I looked up to that dude. Yo, he had a mind, and he had a mind for peace. And he had a mind for peace in times of war. You understand? He was a guy, he was not willing to let any brother die for anything called the number or the cause of the number, meaning the selling of drugs, you know, protection of territory. No, we were not all about that. We were not a gang. We were also, cannot be called a clique, but we were a brotherhood, a band of dudes who stood together in oneness and in unity. You understand? The selling of drugs was there. Everybody got a portion of what was being sold. You understand? So, yeah, and I started leaving things and I started telling the guys, yo, it's cool, I'm backing down, you know. You'll never see me many a times coming here again, but you must know I am there. You are welcome.
You stop
there.
going to the same places that you used to go to, and you start kind of changing the way you live your life.
Yeah, you know, just to fit into Charlene's world and with Charlene's kids, you know. And gradually the change grew on me, but I'm still smoking, I'm still active because the HLs at that time were trying to cause some ruckus, you know, trying to come against me now, having a stationary position where I'm selling. And she's also selling. She was selling Mandrex. So I came and I sold Tuck. So she did the business. I did my business. I understood that her business was for her family. So I could not mix my business with her.
With hers, yeah.
So we stayed separate, you know, whereas we were still in a relationship.
And was that all you were doing at that time? You were only selling drugs. You stopped everything else? Pretty much.
Yes, this is the time where I'm stopping.
Yeah.
But prior Charlene with that girlfriend, I
Yeah.
was still doing things.
Yeah. So I'm saying at this point
Yeah,
now,
at this point,
you've stopped
Stop
everything else, and you're just selling drugs.
Selling drugs.
Yeah.
You know, and just being with Charlene. Selling drugs, just being with Charlene. And then the guys started to try to make some mischief for me, but they do not know that I am a guy who don't worry about foot soldiers. I go straight to the boss. That was my motive even the times when I was like in this thing, you know. So I went straight to the bosses and they're like, yo guys, what's up? And they know me, they got me, you know. And we spoke and the ranking is also the same. You know, I'm higher than 2, but 1 is the same level as me. So we could understand each other. And I told them, better sort your people out, because when I start sorting them out, then it's going to be like I'm coming against HR, which is I'm not afraid to come against HR, but I don't want to come against HR. But your foot soldiers, they're trying to mess me up. And I'm not anymore in that space of mind. I don't want those things anymore. And so that whole crew came down, the boss and the 2 leaders, they came down and they gave these guys a beating in front of me. And they told them, you better step up, step away from Thando, you know. So, yeah, things started to happen in that sense where I also felt like, I think this is the life I want, man, you know. But then I got sick because I'm smoking pipe, smoking mandrake, I'm methamphetamine. So I remember I was at that verge where every pipe pull, I had to cough 3 or 4 times. I was like hanging on my skin, you understand? And I started seeing pimples here because I was not a loyal guy, you know. I had my sideys, so I would dip anywhere where I could dip, you know. And then I started to see these bodily changes, and I started to see my health is deteriorating, you know. And then my mom comes in the week of my birthday. My birthday is on the 8th of November, and she comes and she's like, my son, I need you to come to church with me. You're almost 33 years old now. You need to change your life. I'm like, can't you see I'm an old man? Leave me alone. That was the first time I was ever rude with my mom. May her soul rest in peace. And I said, leave me alone. I'm an old man. I got my own life. You know, your time has passed to try to tell me what to do and where to be. And my mom went out. And it was at night, and I did not even escort my mom out of a dangerous neighborhood, you know. And my mom went home. And I remember speaking to Charlene, don't you think we must go to church? And Charlene said, your mom wants you to go to church, not me. Charlene was also using meth at that time, you know. So I'm like, hey, but I want us to go to church. And she's like, hey, your mom wants you to go to church, so you go to church. And I remember the following morning, I stand up and I decide I'm going to go with my mom just to please her, you know. No, not the following day. The following day, my mom comes back again. And she says to me, my son, that's on the 7th. She says, my son, please, on your birthday, come with me to church. For a birthday present, I'm going to buy you the most expensive phone. I don't care how much the phone is that you want. I'm going to buy it for you. And I don't care the sneakers that you want. I will buy them for you. Now, my mom at that time, she's long past stopped buying me stuff. You understand, as a child. But every time maybe she would see that I'm lacking in a pair of tekkies, she would buy me like a cheap pair of tekkie. You know, she's no longer taking care of me as a child because I'm no longer a child and I'm operating in a different field in another manner. So she broaches this and I'm like, okay, you know, I can go get me a very nice phone and a very nice tekkie and can stand out. And then I made a decision, I'm going to go. In the morning of my birthday, I go to my mom's and I get my mom coming to come fetch me. And I called out, Mom, here I am. She's on the other side of the field as I'm coming on the other side. I called out to her and she came and I can see she's crying and praising the Lord. And she took me to church that day. We went to Pero. Yeah, there was a church there. They call it the Assembly of Gathering, something like that. We went there and we heard that the pastor of the church, who is a prophet, is doing a wedding in Hermanus and he's stuck beyond the traffic and stuff like that. But he's the man that everybody wants to come and see because he's the prophet. He's the one that can tell you what God says about you and what was it, what. So I'm like, okay, this guy's not here. It's cool, no problem. But then they stand up one guy. I just forgot his name, man, but I looked him up. I really forgot his name now. And that guy stood up, he's an evangelist, and he said, well, the pastor's not here, but the church must go on. And he started to give a narrative story about Jesus Christ being tempted by the devil after the 40 days of fasting. And I'm aware of that story, but he just brought that story in a different light where I also saw that story very different from anything that I've read or heard before. Because now I no longer saw Jesus Christ that was being tempted from the devil. Because we have this notion when we speak about Jesus Christ, and we have this notion of this superior, perfect man and whatever, you understand? But Jesus was never a superior, perfect man. He was a man who also had these afflictions that we are afflicted with daily, but he always chooses the other. You understand? He always chooses the other road, the road lesser traveled, whereby we will choose to satisfy our flesh and to do what is yearning within us to do. You understand? And seeing that Jesus is also being brought together with the deity of God, so people always will like see him in a supernatural sense, man. But that day I just saw a man in the same form as me, as I am a man, being ministered to by angels, because the word says after the devil could no longer tempt him, he went away. And then the angels of God came down from heaven to minister to Jesus bread and water. So I'm looking at the angels coming into the earth, which is the realm of man, coming to a man. And then as well, so I'm like, whoa, if they can come to Jesus, so that means they can come to me. So if Jesus also, the God that he is, chose to come to bring himself forth in my image and in my likeness, as the word says, we are created in his image and his likeness. But I just saw the manliness, the man, and I'm like, whoa. So that means if angels can come serve me in my manly state, then that puts me in God's regard that I am a king. And as a king that I am, there is no peasanthood in the kingdom that I belong to. Only kings exist there. And then I started to look at the life that I'm living, and I saw that all this life is so beneath me. It doesn't even befit to be under my feet. And that's when the change happened. Bah! And when I recognized that, I heard a voice telling me, stand up, go outside, spit. And I stood up, and I'm like full of tears. I'm crying. I cannot control myself. And I just went out, picked up that big green buns there in the Voortrekker Road, and I just pa, 3 balls, a black, a yellow, and a green ball, slime balls. And I popped them out.
What, out of your mouth?
Yeah, man.
Out of your lungs?
They were like, yeah. And I heard, you've been cured from MDR TB. I'm like, okay, I go in. I sat there and I'm awaiting this prophet now. The prophet came. So I'm awaiting him to look my way to tell me what God, and he's just looking past me, dealing with other people, you know, and I'm like in a state of tears, and I'm like, yo, what's up? Why is this guy not looking at me? It's like I just want to throw myself even in front of him. But God was teaching me another lesson that time. You don't need to look towards man, you look to me. But that's a lesson that I learned. There's a time. But change happened that day, because I remember I could not get that place out of my mind. I stayed in a drug den selling drugs, but I was no longer active in the selling. Only Charlene, she did not understand me. I came home with the Bible, with bread, a drink, and 30 rand of electricity. And I punched it in, and I had nothing more. My mom wanted to give me money. I said, no, I don't want your money. I got what I need. Change just happened to me.
It's amazing.
You know, so I stayed for 3 days in a house infested with drugs without doing any drugs. A friend of mine who used to deliver drugs and come every second night, come to share the spoils with me. I must sell half for him, and the other half is mine, smoke together. He came and he brought new tuck and new buttons. He wanted to smoke with me. I'm like, brother, I'm done with that. He did not believe. He blows the lolly in my face. I'm like, yo, I'm done. He said, but Thando, you are Charlene, what's going on here? I said, Bali, I'm done with this life. And I remember the 3rd day, which was on the 11th of November, I prayed and I asked God, how do I do now? What must I do? And I heard Junaid. Now, Junaid is a friend of mine who's also in that book. I think his name is June in that book.
In Darius's book.
In Darius's book, yeah. So I also I connected Darius with him. So he, 9 months prior to me becoming born again, he became born again. He's the first one to change his life. And he was like really a crazy dude, you know. He changed his life. And I just went to him and like, yo, brother, what did you do? He asked me, what? I said, how did you do to enter the change that you are in? Because I'm feeling it. Then he said, come. And I received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior that day. And from that day onwards, everything is history.
What a beautiful story, man. Wow.
Yeah.
That is really some powerful stuff.
And
I mean, just to end off, what a story. I'm honestly like so baffled. You've lived such a life, my man.
Blessed be, man.
I mean, you obviously have some regrets. What are some of your biggest regrets?
My biggest regret is that I didn't save as much people that I could have saved. Because there's one thing about me that I never agreed with people that would speak or with other people's opinion about me. People would always say I'm as an evil man. That guy's evil, you know. They would speak like evil, you know. And people like, I would meet up like what hard killers, man, and they would maybe have a debacle over something, and I would like come and like, yo, this, and they would like take my words for it, you know. That debacle will cease, you know. And like a person wants to kill another person, no, I'm gonna shoot their friends, man. You know, beefs between friends. Yo, I'm gonna shoot this guy in the head. I'm like, yo, keep that gun here. You're not gonna shoot the gun for another week now because you don't know who to shoot, you know. So I was always in that sense of trying to save people, trying to help people, even my enemies. I was never a guy when
you weren't fighting, you were trying to help.
Yeah, I was never a guy who was like into just hitting and shooting first. But the first thing I would do is like go approach you, speak with you if you want to speak. If you don't want to speak, there's nothing to speak about. Do you understand? But I need to understand, why are you coming up against me? Why are you shooting me? What's your reason? You know? But those are, as I grew, man. First I was crazy.
Yeah, you learned that over time, yeah.
But as I grew, so this is unnecessary. We can solve things in a different ways. But now I was that person. I speak once, twice. I don't speak the third time. The third time I set the date. Friday, Josh dies. And Josh dies.
What would you like to say to other kids that are hearing you share your story right now? What would you say to other kids that are going through the same things or similar things that you went through?
Cool. You know, I think it's like 9 months or a year back, my son was caught up, CJ, who was raised from 6 years old. By the way, I also have a daughter with the name Lauren, my biological daughter. Her name is Lauren. And then I have CJ, Cleo, and Clayton. Now my biological son, my baby son, Luke, the one I said always has my phone. So CJ was caught up in a conflict with some boys from another scheme, and they were throwing stones with each other and chasing each other with knives and stuff. So I heard about it for quite some time, but I never thought it was this serious. Until one day when I came from work, and I heard the people say they almost stabbed CJ to death. And brother, I could not take it. And you know, my anger boiled up to the point of not me doing something to those boys, but me doing something about these boys. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I wasn't angry to go look for the guy that wanted to stab CJ and beat him to a pulp. No, I was not angry in the sense. I was so angry in the sense that how can we as parents in the community allow this thing to go so far? And I took it upon myself to go to those guys on the other scheme and to hear what is their story and to seek out their parents, get their parents, speak to their parents, tell them, Thando, I'm going to do something about this. And I came back to my side, to my kids, called them all into my house, spoke with them, tried to find out what's the reason, where did all this start. And I heard a lot of different versions, like nobody knows really where it starts. And that happens mainly with all the gang wars that we have here outside. Nobody really knows where it started, but we're just fighting them. We're just fighting them, you understand? So I told them, now from today on, I don't care if those guys pass here or if they swear at you, you do nothing. I'm going to end this. And then I started mobilizing policemen I knew, because I was sitting at home and I was trembling. I'm like, yo, Lord, this is too big for me. How am I going to stop this? Because I can relate with these boys. I know exactly what is driving them. I know their fears because they too are afraid. You understand? They just want to make a mark so that nobody can target them. You understand? And that is how I did my life. That is how what I did in every area that I come into. I make a mark, like the most craziest mark everyone has ever made. The whole place will stand still and like, okay, take note. Do you understand? So that a target will not be placed on my back. So I knew that whatever bravado is being brought before, there's a sense of fear driving it. So I needed to get to that fear. And I started praying and I cried and I said, Lord, this is heavy on me. And the Lord just said to me, look at your phone. And I took out my phone and I looked at my phone and he said, go to your context. And I go to my context and I look into my context and he said, who do you see there? I saw policemen. I saw detectives there, murder and armed robbery. I saw church leaders. I saw guys that I'm working with in schools, the organizations of chosen youth and reform, restore. You know, we're doing this intervention in schools and we're doing awarenesses in schools, speaking to the youth, you know, grade 7s, you know. So I just saw these people and the Lord said, that's why I gave you these people, so that this task might be lighter. Call these people, whoever is interested, tell them, we're going to do this. We're going to make peace between these boys before this escalates and these boys becomes gangsters. And it's a breeding colony of gangsterism, you know, and it gets out of hand from stones to guns. And I contacted these people and, you know, all these people were like eager to do what must be done. We got a venue, a church, and I did the transportation. I went to go drive the guys and their parents, brought them, and I made sure that the venue is not going to be in anyone's territory, but it's going to be in the outskirts of both territories so that everyone can come together in a peaceful manner. And we did it, and you know, I told them my life. And I told them, none of you is willing to go through what I went through. It seems quiet. That's the word most of cool. It seems quiet when you walk in that street with that street cred killer. But do you know what does a killer goes through when nobody is there? And I told them about the dream I had in prison. While I was laying there in a bed, I just saw a door opening. And I saw 2 Crockett and Jones shoes. And these shoes walked towards me. And I cried in my dream. And I woke up one day with a dream that I had being shot 16 times in my face by my enemy. That's when I tattooed my name, Thando. Yeah. Because I saw me laying down there, going up, and I saw my mom and my brother trying to identify my body, and my brother could only identify me by my techies, the way I was shot in my face. You understand? So I told them, these are the things that we do not speak. When the bravado is on, we do not say how we cry in our lone times, our dark places. Because, brother, to take somebody's life or to take a life, it's not something small, it's something big, and it has its consequences, which are spiritually, which are physically. But now, we as human beings have brought it to the place where we call it trauma, post-trauma, blah, blah, blah. No. It's a life that you have taken, and that life has left a void. There is a lot of crying, sorrow behind that life that you took or behind the deed that you took. Now, where do you think all that is hanging? It's not going to disappear. It's not going to vaporize. We can't just push it aside and say, no, let's focus on a tangible issue which we can diagnose and say, no, this is trauma or post-traumatic trauma. No. It's a spiritual thing that is transpiring because the life has been taken and it messes up your head. That's why many people get crazy, you know, and many people can't come out of that. They just stay in that. You just look at you see this is a killer because he's like, you know, I even had an argument with God one day before I got arrested to go do my 8-year sentence. I said, why did you create me? Did you create me to be a murderer? If that's it, then you end my life. But if not, then you better change my life. And you know what? That same night, after not sleeping at home for 6 months, I heard, go home, go sleep at home. I went home, locked there. My mom was surprised, came in. My mom asked, you going to sleep? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sleep. Get into the bed. I slept. Not an hour later, I haven't even dozed off. I hear the cops knocking at the door. And they say, no, we're not looking for Thando. We're looking for a guy associated with Thando. Can we just speak to Thando? We want to ask him, where's this guy? And my mom said, well, Thando is there upstairs in his room. And they came upstairs in the room. And when they came upstairs in the room, they said, brother, leave your belt, leave your laces. You're coming with us. And I was arrested in that manner. Do you understand? And I went to prison and I got to court. And I was like, I think I had about like 4 to 6 cases, you know. And many of those cases, they just, you know, was like scrapped away. And I was left with one case, which was business robbery. And I was found guilty under a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt, not concrete. Even my legal aid lawyer said, hey, let's appeal. But I said no, because I just felt God is doing something. And I had to go do that 8-year stint. And that's when I came out of prison. A year after prison, God came. And he just changed my life.
Thank you so much for coming down and sharing your story today.
Yeah, man.
I know there's a lot of kids that are going to watch this and even adults that are going to take a lot out of it. So thank you so much.
Sure.
And thank you all for watching this episode of the Wide Awake podcast. I hope you took something out of it, and I'll see you all very soon.
Blessed be.
Cheers.